It's Monday morning. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Elon Musk and Twitter are both trending this morning. This is because Elon Musk disclosed a 9% stake in the company of Twitter. This caused the stock to jump over 20%. Starbucks is down over 5%. This is because interim CEO Howard Schultz has returned this morning and immediately put a halt to the stock buyback program. AMD is acquiring the networking technology company Pensando Systems for $1.9 billion. Hasbro is adding two video game industry veterans to its board, the COO of Discord and an executive VP from EA. And Westrock Coffee is set to go public through a $1.1 billion SPAC deal. I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Monday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. markets ended in the green, led predominantly by the tech sector, in particular, Twitter. Elon Musk's 9.2% stake in the company has increased the value of the company by $8.5 billion over the course of the day. This will certainly come under some sort of regulatory scrutiny. Roblox's founder and CEO just got a pay raise from $6.8 million last year to $232 million this year. And Jumia Technologies, ticker symbol JMIA, jumped over 20% today. This was on the news that they will be partnering with UPS as UPS expands into Africa. Have a great night, and I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Good morning. I'm Vince, and I read finance news so that you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. stock markets are taking a bit of a dip this morning. This is as investors react to hawkish statements made by Federal Reserve Governor Lael Brainerd, who said that the central bank needs to rapidly shrink its balance sheet in order to combat inflation. In a filing this morning, Elon Musk will be joining the board of Twitter and is restricted from ever owning more than 14.9% of the company's stock. In a filing last night, ExxonMobil stated that they expect their Q1 profit to be more than $9 billion this year. General Motors and Honda are teaming up to develop electric vehicles. These should be available for purchase in 2027. And Clarify Health reaches a $1.4 billion valuation. I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Tuesday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Spirit Airlines jumped over 20% today. This is because they now have a second buyout offer. This latest one comes from JetBlue for $3.6 billion. Hertz is buying 65,000 electric vehicles from the Tesla rival Polestar. JP Morgan is conducting a thorough internal review of their exposure to commodities. This comes on the heels of the recent nickel problems. Apple announced that their annual developer conference will be remote again this year. Instacart is changing their tipping policy. This is to prevent tip baiting, where consumers just zero out the tip after the groceries have been delivered. And Twitter says they are working on an edit button for Twitter Blue members. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Good morning. I'm Vince, and I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. stock markets have opened in the red as investors await the minutes from the Federal Reserve's most recent meeting. We should have these minutes this afternoon. The price of New York Harbor jet fuel has doubled, reaching a 41-year all-time high. Mortgage rates have hit 5% for the first time in a decade, and rental prices have continued to increase, with the average U.S. rent being $283 more than it was this time last year. BlackRock is seeking a $2 billion co-investment fund, and Citi has announced they will be pausing all new SPAC issuances ahead of possible SEC crackdowns and regulations. I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Wednesday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. The Federal Reserve meeting minutes were released today, and within these we see that the U.S. Central Bank is prepared to increase interest rate hikes to 0.5%, as well as prepared to slash a swollen balance sheet by up to $95 billion a month. This has investors somewhat shaken. SoFi saw a lot of red today. This was because they had to cut their forecast due to the continuation of the student loan pause. Carnival Cruises was down over 5% today, despite the fact that last week was their busiest booking week ever in the history of the company. And according to Bloomberg, Black Knight is considering a potential sale after they have been approached for a takeover interest. Have a great night, and I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. It's Thursday morning. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway revealed a new $4 billion stake in HP this morning. This sent the stock up over 15%. Dave & Buster's is spending $835 million to acquire the company Main Event. This will allow them to offer even more family-friendly options like bowling and laser tag. Uber is piloting a new program in the UK that will allow users to book car rentals, buses, trains, and even planes within the app. If it's successful, we can expect a wider rollout. Equity firm Lead Edge Capital just raised another $2 billion in their most recent round. And Alphabet-owned company Wing will begin drone deliveries today in Dallas. I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Thursday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Rite Aid is having a rough day. The stock ended the day down over 17%. This was after a Deutsche Bank analyst, George Hill, downgraded the stock to a sell, set the price to $1, and implied that the company itself could go under. Jobless claims fell to the lowest level since 1968. Fetch Rewards, the shopping rewards app backed by SoftBank, has raised another $250 million in funding. It currently has a $2.5 billion valuation. According to the Federal Reserve's Consumer Credit Report, U.S. consumer debt jumped by a record $40 billion in February, and Costco reached an all-time high after reporting great sales in March. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Happy Friday, I'm Vince, and here's some finance news you might want to know. AMD, Intel, and Nvidia are all seeing a bit of red this morning. This is because several analysts have forecast a reduction in the demand of semiconductors. Walmart is increasing the salary of their in-house truckers to $110,000 a year. Boeing is down this morning on reports that a 757 cargo jet broke in half this morning upon landing. The UN Food Agency reported this morning that world food prices jumped 13% in March to an all-time high. And according to Redfin, they are seeing signs of a slowing housing market in certain cities. According to their data, they are seeing the tour of houses for sale down as much as 20% in certain markets. Have a great Friday, and I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Friday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Discovery ended the day up 5%. This was because they finally closed their deal to merge with Warner Media. Bank of America threw its support behind the SEC proposal for climate risk disclosure. Starbucks is hiring a new strategy officer as 6 more New York cafes vote to unionize. Constellation Brands CEO disclosed that their quarterly sales are up 8% over the previous year. This means that people are going back to bars and enjoying adult beverages more. Lowe's CFO is stepping down and will be replaced by Brandon Sink on April 30th. And Blockstream Block and Tesla are teaming up on a renewable Bitcoin mining facility. I'll see you next week.